Very good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about electric generator. Before that, we should know about Fleming's right hand rule. Already we have discussed about Fleming's left hand rule. So what it says, Fleming right hand rule. Stretch the thumb, forefinger and the middle finger of your right hand. You have to stretch your thumb, forefinger and middle finger of your right hand. That should be mutually perpendicular to each other. If the forefinger indicates the direction of the magnetic field and the thumb indicates the direction of the motion of the conductor, then the middle finger will indicate the direction of the induced current. So Fleming right hand rule is also called generator rule. So once again, the finger, what are the denomination for the fingers? Thumb finger shows that motion or force, and the middle finger shows that induced current, and the point finger which shows that magnetic field. Once again, let me say the law. You have to stretch your thumb, forefinger and middle finger of your right hand. That should be mutually perpendicular to each other. If the forefinger indicates the direction of the magnetic field and the thumb indicates the direction of motion of the conductor, then the middle finger will indicate the direction of induced current. Fleming right hand rule is also called generator rule. So in the generator, Fleming left hand rule is applicable. Electric generator. The picture shows the electric generator. Here we are going to discuss about two types of generator. One is AC generator and DC generator. First, let me discuss about AC generator. And an AC generator is nothing but AC abbreviation is alternating current. That is short form we are telling that AC generator. And alternating current, that is AC generator, which is shown in the figure. It consists of rotating rectangular coil. It consists of rotating rectangular coil, that is A, B, C, D, called armature, which is placed between the two poles of the magnet. Poles of the magnet here represented by N and S. N stands for North Pole and S stands for South Pole. The two ends of this coil are connected to two slip rings. Two slip rings have connected. Look at the figure here. Two slip ring which is shown in the figure. So the two ends of this coil are connected to two slip rings S1 and S2. The inner sides of these rings are insulated, that is fixed. Two conducting stationary brushes which is shown in the figure B1 and B2 are kept separately on the rings S1 and S2 respectively. The two rings S1 and S2, the two rings S1 and S2 are internally attached to an axle. The axle may be mechanically rotated from outside to. So look at the figure, students. We can notice that slip ring which is in the right hand side of the generator. So the axle may be mechanically rotated. Mechanically rotated in sense there is a handle, no, we can rotate. We itself we can rotate to produce the current. So that the axle may be mechanically rotated from outside to rotate the coil inside the magnetic field. Actually, we have to make the coil to rotate in the magnetic surrounding. So that can be do by manually, that is mechanically. Outer ends of the two brushes are connected to the external circuit. When the coil is rotated, the magnetic flux linked with the coil changes. So this is the reason for the production of the current. When the coil, I told you A, B, C, D. So what we are doing here, we are rotating manually. So when the coil is rotated, the magnetic flux linked with the coil changes. This change in magnetic flux will lead to generation of induced current. The direction of the induced current as given by the Fleming's right hand rule, now only we have discussed, is along ABCD in the coil and in the outer circuit. It flows from B2 to B1 during the second half of rotation. The direction of the current is along DCBA in the coil, and in the outer circuit it flows from B1 to B2. As the rotation of the coil continues, the induced current in the external circuit is changing its direction for every half year rotation of the coil. So, still now we have discussed about that AC generator. About AC generator, now I will explain you. Already we have discussed about the electric motor, the same concept only, but what we are doing here, we are generating the current. So that is electric generator. So next let me discuss about DC generator. So this diagram which shows that AC generator, what is the difference here? We have the slip ring, two halves, we have a slip rings, we have, it is fixed now, it is fixed in the left hand side below the bulb. There is a two ring, so that ring is called a slip ring. If the slip ring is connected, that is called AC generator. Now let me show this diagram. It shows that DC generator because here we have used split. Slip is different from split. SPLIT. So here we have used split ring type of commutator. So to get a direct current, what we have to use, a split ring type of commutator must be used. Have you understood, students? Slip ring for AC generator, split ring for DC generator. With this arrangement, one brush is at all the times in contact with the arm moving up in the field, while the other is in contact with the arm moving down. Thus, a unidirectional current is produced. So already I told you AC is nothing but alternating current, but DC is nothing but direct current, that is unidirectional current. So look at this diagram, students. We can clearly understood about the AC generator and DC generator. So AC generator which is present in the left hand side, there is a slip ring. I told you already, slip ring we used, and right hand side we used DC generator. So here we have a split ring type. So I hope you all understood, students. So electric generator is nothing but we can generate the current by externally, by mechanically we can generate the current. I hope you all understood, students. Thank you.
Very good morning, my dear students. Welcome back to the chemistry class. Students, today we learn about oxidation number. Children, what is mean by oxidation number? Oxidation number of an element is defined as the formal charge which an atom of that element appears to have when electrons are counted. And students, oxidation number also called oxidation state. And children, how atoms form a chemical bond? We know in an atom, loss of electrons means it forms a positive ion, that means cation. Gain of electron by an atom means it forms a negative ion, that means anion. Then how atoms form a chemical bond? The total number of electrons that an atom either gains or losses in order to form a chemical bond with another atom. The sum of oxidation numbers of all the atoms in the formula for a neutral compound is 0. In a neutral compound, all oxidation numbers must add up to 0. In an ion, the oxidation numbers must add up to the charge on the ion. And students, we follow some rules for assigning oxidation numbers. Let us see that rules. First, the oxidation number of the atoms in any free uncombined element is 0. So oxidation number of any free or uncombined element is 0. Second, the sum of the oxidation numbers of all atoms in a compound is 0. So in a compound, the sum of the oxidation numbers of all the atoms is 0. Third, the sum of the oxidation numbers of all atoms in an ion is equal to the charge of the ion. Fourth, the oxidation number of fluorine in all its compounds is -1. Fifth, the oxidation number of other halogens in their compounds is usually -1. And hydrogen oxidation number is +1. But except in metal hydrides, because in metal hydrides oxidation number of hydrogen is -1. So except metal hydrides, remaining all compounds, that oxidation number of hydrogen is +1. And oxidation number of oxygen is -2. But except in peroxides, because in peroxides oxidation number of oxygen is -1. And in oxygen difluoride, oxidation number of oxygen is +2. So except peroxides and oxygen difluoride, oxidation number of oxygen is -2. So these are the some common rules we follow for assigning oxidation numbers. Students, let us see some problems on determination of oxidation number. First one, find the oxidation number of oxygen in H2O. So students, in your book page number 157, these problems are there. Okay. So first, find the oxidation number of oxygen in H2O. So we find the oxidation number of oxygen. So we don't know the oxidation number of oxygen. So we taken as oxidation number of oxygen as X. And let us take oxidation number. ON means oxidation number. So let us take oxidation number of hydrogen is +1. Because already we discussed that some rules for assigning oxidation numbers. So from the rule, hydrogen oxidation number is +1 except in metal hydride. So we are taking oxidation number of hydrogen is +1. So water, what is the molecular formula for water? H2O. So here 2 hydrogen is present and 1 oxygen is present. So 2 hydrogen. So 2 into, instead of hydrogen you put the oxidation number of hydrogen +1 plus oxidation number of oxygen we taken as X. So we put X is equal to 0. So 2 plus X is equal to 0. X is equal to -2. So oxidation number of oxygen in H2O is equal to -2. Second one, find the oxidation number of sulfur in H2SO4. So we have to find the oxidation number of sulfur. So taken as X. We know oxidation number of hydrogen is +1 and oxygen is -2. Because what is the molecular formula for sulfuric acid? H2SO4. We find the oxidation number of sulfur. So remaining that hydrogen and oxygen, oxidation number from the rule we know hydrogen +1 and oxygen -2. So here 2 hydrogen present. So 2 into, instead of hydrogen you put the oxidation number of hydrogen +1 plus instead of S you substitute X plus 4 oxygen is present. So 4 into -2 is equal to 0. So we are getting 2 plus X minus 8 is equal to 0. So X minus 6 is equal to 0. We are getting X is equal to +6. So +6 is the oxidation number of sulfur. And another example, find the oxidation number of carbon in carbon dioxide. Let us take oxidation number of carbon as X. We know oxidation number of oxygen is -2. From the formula, we know carbon dioxide CO2. Carbon we taken as X. Oxygen we know -2. So how many oxygen is present? 2 oxygen. So X plus 2 into minus 2 is equal to 0. So x minus 4 is equal to 0. We get plus 4. Therefore, oxidation number of carbon in carbon dioxide is plus 4. And next example, find the oxidation number of nitrogen in HNO3. HNO3 means that is nitric acid. Okay, so find the oxidation number of nitrogen in HNO3. So let us take oxidation number of nitrogen as X. We know hydrogen oxidation number is plus 1 and oxygen oxidation number is minus 2. So HNO3, one hydrogen is present. So instead of hydrogen we put plus 1. That is the oxidation number of hydrogen. Plus N. Instead of N we put X. Plus 3 oxygen. So 3 into oxidation number of oxygen minus 2 is equal to 0. 1 plus x minus 6 is equal to 0. X minus 5 is equal to 0. We get x plus 5. So this plus 5 is the oxidation number of nitrogen in HNO3. Okay students. So I hope you understood how to find the oxidation number. Some of the book back problem also there. So students, work out this oxidation number problems thoroughly. Okay. Thank you students.